silence of the night was suffocating, broken only by the soft, unrelenting ticking of the clock on the wall. 1:30 a.m. again. Another sleepless night. But I wasn't alone. I knew what was coming. I always knew.
Honey, why did you lock the window?
The voice was soft, almost tender, but it carried a weight that crushed my chest. Her voice, my wife's voice. Every night, without fail, it drifted from the window in my bedroom, but it wasn't her. It couldn't be. She was gone. Cancer had taken her, leaving me shattered with only our 2 children to remind me of her love. Grief became my shadow, heavy and unshakable. I couldn't move on. How could I when she was everything? Her absence gnawed at me, a deep wound that festered in silence. I didn't know how to let go. And now, every night, she or something pretending to be her came back to me. At first, I thought it was her ghost, but deep down I knew it wasn't. It was something darker, something evil, a jinn. It had found its way into my life through my grief, creeping into my heart like a parasite. The first time it appeared was the night she died. I was alone in our room, clutching a photograph of her, our last family picture before the sickness consumed her. I couldn't stop crying. Why did you leave me? Why? I can't do this without you. My voice broke as the sobs overtook me. I cried myself into exhaustion and drifted into a strange, restless sleep. And that's when I saw her, in my dream. She was standing there, just as beautiful as the last day I saw her healthy, with that same gentle smile that had always brought me peace.
I will never leave you.
She whispered, her voice like a lullaby.
I am with you. Let me come back to you every night.
Desperation gripped me. Yes, I agreed. Come back, please, I need you. I woke up with a twisted sense of hope, but when I opened my eyes, the room felt wrong. The air was thick, oppressive. How could she come back? The next night, I found out. After tucking the children into bed, I went to my room, expecting the usual ache of loneliness. But there she was, lying on our bed. I froze, the air in my lungs suddenly too heavy. My heart raced. This can't be real. But she smiled at me, the same sweet smile from my dream. I shut the door, afraid that the children might see, afraid of what it meant. But I couldn't help myself. I walked toward her, trembling. Could it really be her?
You not dreaming, my love. Didn't I promise to come back? But you cannot touch me. Only talk to me. Lay with me. But never touch me.
She said softly, her voice laced with warmth. Her words, like honey, lulled me into compliance. I didn't think. I didn't care. I just wanted her back. I slipped into bed beside her, feeling a twisted joy I hadn't felt since she passed. And so every night it continued. She would come, we would talk. I would lie next to her, staring into the darkness, wishing I could hold her again. I started living for those moments. My days at work blurred into meaningless hours, and my thoughts were consumed by the nights. My colleagues noticed the change. My boss did too. He urged me to seek help, but how could I explain it? Eventually, he dragged me to a psychiatrist, but even the doctor knew something wasn't right. Dr. Adams simply told me to seek alternative help. That's when my boss took me to an ustaz. I didn't want to go. All I could think about was getting back to her voice, to her smile. But the ustaz was patient, asking me questions that cut too close. I tried to deny it, but the truth spilled out. It's not your wife, he said with a quiet certainty. It's a jinn. His words hit me like a punch to the gut. How could I accept that? She had felt so real, sounded so real, but deep down I knew. I had known all along. That night, the ustaz performed a ritual to cleanse my home. I fought it at first. I didn't want to lose her, even if she wasn't really her. But the moment he finished, it was like a fog lifted. My mind cleared, and for the first time since her death, I felt free. But it wasn't over. That night, I heard the knocking again.
Honey, why did you lock the window?
The voice was weaker this time, but it was still hers. I stayed quiet, remembering the Ustaz's words. For days, the knocking continued. Her voice grew desperate.
You don't love me anymore.
It was a pleading cry, filled with sorrow. Then, one night, the sobbing began. It was so heart-wrenching, so full of pain that for a moment I almost gave in. But I stayed silent. That's when it changed. The sobbing turned into a scream. A terrible, blood-curdling scream that filled the room with a darkness so thick I could feel it in my bones. It was like the air itself was tearing apart. And then, silence. Since that night, the voice has been gone. The shadow that haunted me has disappeared. But sometimes, when the wind blows just right, I think I hear her whispering through the window.